Okay, I'm over here laughing because I had it set on loop. No, I don't want it to loop. Do not loop. Stop looping. Okay, everybody. Hello. At least I can start with laughter. Happy Friday. Welcome to another coffee chat in my almost empty office. Hello. Oh my gosh. This is definitely a 2 coffee day. I had a coffee to start my day. I'm having a second coffee during coffee chat. That was funny. Happy Friday. I changed the title of the video at the last minute because I started to realize as I was getting ready that I wanted to talk about quantum leaps a little bit today. This has been on my mind quite a bit. I'm also going to give you a writing retreat update today. And there were some new questions that I thought were interesting posted in the Discord, and we might talk about February goals. As many of you know, this hour is going to absolutely fly by. So let's get to it. Yay, Nikki's here for the first time. Oh, a fellow Cincy consultant. Is Kelly here? Kelly, one of our admins for our coven, is also Cincy, who just sent me a beautiful cherries warmer, which I have out in the hallway. It's absolutely beautiful. Yes, Haunted Mansion mug, one of my favorites. Had to grab it. Okay. Oh, new moon. When is the new moon? I have not even been looking. Is it today? Oh my gosh. I've been behind on my moons, which is a weird thing to say, but I just have been so wrapped up in so many things going on with Publish and Thrive and Your Path Forward. It's tonight. Yep, there we go. Happy new moon, everybody. So, just need a minute to collect my thoughts. Did I get more sleep last night? Thank you for everybody who joined me last night as we finished out Man of Medan. And I was meant to finish. It's like it was calling me. It was the new moon calling me to change the topic. We played the rest of Man of Medan last night on Twitch. And then today we are also going to be, or not today, next week, we're going to start the second of the Dark Pictures anthologies, which is Little Hope. So anybody who wants to come watch, I'll be live on Twitch next Thursday night. Yes, tomorrow is also Lunar New Year. We have family stuff going on. We have Publish and Thrive Q&A. It is a busy weekend, but I'm hoping that I actually can find a little bit of time to do the bookshelves because it's really getting to me. And we're going to talk about that a little bit in today's video. I couldn't remember if I showed you guys my new fountain pen. Did I show you this? I've been using it like crazy. This is my new fountain pen from Venu. It is glow in the dark. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I wasn't sure if I showed it to you or not, but it's really pretty. It is a fine nib. And I bought this for celebrating my biggest ever launch day. Oh, I did show you guys. I knew I showed it at a Heart Breathing Sing, but I wasn't sure if I showed it here or not. So yeah, and Super Bowl. Oh my gosh, this weekend. No, it's crazy. It glows in the dark. The ink doesn't glow in the dark, but the green parts of the pen glow in the dark. So it's so funny because Evie always wants to take it into the bathroom to look at it because it's dark over there. I got this at Atlas Stationers, I think it's called. And I love it. It's very nice. And I have decided that I'm going to start collecting fountain pens. I do have some other ones. So this is a Hello Kitty fountain pen. You can, I don't know how well it'll show that. Like you can see a little bit. No, it's not really going to show because of the lighting. This is the Hello Kitty fountain pen from Kaweco Sport, and it is super cute and I love it. So I use this one a lot. There is a Hello Kitty on the actual nib as well, but again, I don't think it's going to show her. You can kind of see that. See the little Hello Kitty on the nib? So cute. But I've just decided that I am going to be collecting fountain pens for major milestones in my life because I have always wanted to use, I mean, obviously I love pens, but fountain pens specifically that are like collectibles. So those will also go on my bookshelves when I'm going to find some display for when I'm not using them. But anyway, secondary, because I started using it to make down notes for coffee chat because I was like, oh my gosh, I want to say this and I want to say this and I want to say this because there have been some things on my mind. So welcome. what inks do you use? So with the Coeco Sport, I'm just using whatever the like pilot cartridge is. For the Bennu, I am using an ink called Persephone that is from, I can't remember now. I'll have to take a picture of it. I'm not sure, but it's very dark purple and it's very pretty. Oh, it's Carnival in Trinidad also. This is a very busy weekend. There's a lot of stuff going on. So hopefully it's all fun stuff. And it's February, which is so wild that we're already over a week in February. Renee, our beautiful team Sarah, is heading to Florida next week. So Angela will be stepping in to help out a little bit on the team. You might see her a little bit more in the groups and things like that. Renee is going to have a good time. Can't wait to hear more about her trips. There's just lots and lots of stuff going on. But I'm going to talk about quantum leaps and things like that, which I will get to in a second. But I also wanted to give an update on how Vanessa Shaw is going. So I was very, very busy for the first part of this year working on course stuff. And over the past few years, having basically this second business with having courses and students and planners and YouTube videos that are going up twice a week, stuff like that, has made it more difficult for me to write, which many of you know. And I am determined that this year is the year that I get back to writing full time. But in order to make that happen, there's two choices. So either one, I have to be willing to not support and run my other business that I've worked very hard to get going, or I have to find new ways to balance myself and continue to like build my team and get more support. And so that is stuff that will take time to build up and to change. But one of the main things that I've been doing is I have been writing every single morning with friends. And I talked about this, I know, on previous coffee chats, but I'm kind of catching people up to speed. So I've been writing more in the mornings, and that has been great. But at this particular stage in edits, when I am getting close to final read throughs, sending off to betas, I typically need longer stretches of time than just like 2.5 hours in the morning. I need weeks, like dedicated, I'm working on this for weeks at a time kind of energy. And I don't have that right now because I've got too many other things going on. And so I was thinking, how do I make this work? How do I find this level of balance? What can I do? Because I also don't want to be working myself to 2 in the morning every day and not getting sleep, right? So what I am doing is I'm trying to find pockets of time where I can basically go away and be a writer for multiple days. Like, yeah, I need that immersive time. It's super, super important for my process. But how do you immerse yourself when you have 50,000 other things that need to happen? And so part of what I'm doing is spending more morning time where I get up straight away and I get myself into a period of time where I'm like, okay, I don't care what else is due or what else needs to happen. I'm focused on my writing. I'm also going to be doing more of that next week as I continue to work on the work. So I could do theme days. Like that is something I've talked about before, doing theme days where it's like Mondays. But when I am at this point in my writing, one Monday theme day of writing is not enough. I need like 10 straight days of I'm a writer for the next 10 days. And a theme day on a Monday and Tuesday is not enough time because that's like 16 hours and I need like 50 hours, right? So for that, and that's just my process. Some people don't do that. They work an hour a day and that's what they do. But learning your own process is important. And the other thing that is difficult for me about theme days sometimes is if I'm working on my writing and I'm in the close period of like getting to the point where I'm almost done with something, I can't have a day off writing. So I can't say Tuesday is going to be my theme day and I'm going to work on heart breathings all day and I'm not going to write my book, because when I get back to my book on Wednesday, I waste time trying to get myself back into the immersion of the experience. And so it doesn't always work with me. So Cheryl, if you need to update your address for Disappearance Vanessa Shaw, just email Sarah at sarracannon.com and Renee will get that changed for you in the form that we have. So yes, it's not a problem. It's just that once I hit this stage of the process, I need more immersive writing time, and that's just the way it is for me. So I saw a period of time where I was like, okay, I have a few days that I could disappear. And there's always, pros and cons, because I was like, Evie already is not getting as much mommy time as she needs because I have been working so hard on these other courses. So I just had to take some time off and do some FaceTime video with her while I was gone. And I'm going to spend some extra time with her this weekend. But, there's always sacrifices that have to be made. And so that was one of the sacrifices. But she was fine. I mean, she's in school. I took days off when she's in school most of the day. But I spent the last few days in Waco. So I went back to Waco. Many of you saw that I had stayed in Waco when I went for a writing retreat during November in NaNoWriMo. So I went back to that same general area, spent a lot of time at the Fabled Bookshop. I went to the Silos and wrote at the Magnolia Coffee Shop. I did not vlog. I thought about vlogging it, and then I was like, nope, I'm just going to do this because I don't feel like I have the energy to also try to create video. I really want to immerse. So that's what I did. And I spent all day Monday night, all day Tuesday, all day Wednesday. I did not stay in the same condo, but I stayed in the same building that I was in before because it's really nice and it's right next to that coffee shop. Waco is such a cool town. It was very fun. When I got there Monday afternoon, I ordered food from Instacart so that I could stay in my room and I didn't have to go out to get food. And I started working through my plot again. And there is a question in the Discord server about like, how do you work on edits when you're doing extensive edits? And let me tell you, this book has had the most edits of any book I've ever written, partly because it's more complex in terms of timeline. Thank you, Rebecca. Partly because it's a standalone and it's just more difficult. It's been a very difficult book to write. And I hope that when you read it, you think, I don't understand why this was difficult because seems very simple. Because I don't want it to feel complex. I want it to feel really simple and easy to read and easy to keep up with. But there's a lot of secrets in the past. There's multiple timelines. There's lots of things going on. So what I did for myself personally is I grabbed some more of these. It's graph paper. You can kind of see it, but I know it's washing it out with the lighting here. It's graph paper. I separated it into acts. And then I bought these little stickers on Amazon. They're just rectangles in the colors that I needed for my point of view. And then I basically started going back through my timeline with each of the points of view and making sure that's exactly what I need it to be. Because it's not just multiple timelines, it's multiple timelines and multiple points of view. And each past timeline has to partially reveal a secret, but I can't let it be that the reader knows exactly what that secret is. So it's complicated. I'm learning a lot. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And sometimes when I allow myself to just have a good time with it, it's really, really fun. And sometimes I get really caught up in it's taking you too long. This is too hard. You can't do this. So Monday night, I hit a point where I was crying quite a bit. And George was like, why don't we get on a call? And so after he put the kids to bed, we sat and talked for an hour and a half. And during that talk, which was very tearful and crying and me saying, what do I do if I have to give up and I have to, tell people I can't finish this book, whatever. It's just a stage of the writing process. George convinced me that it was going to be okay and it takes as long as it takes, whatever. And shortly after that breakdown, I had a breakthrough where I finally, after all this time, came up with exactly how these timelines are going to weave together. And it was suddenly like, oh my gosh, I have to start back at the beginning. Which, when I sent Renee a message, she was like, are you almost done with Act 3? I sent her a message and said I started back at Act 1, which I have revised no less than 10 times at this point. So that is fun. But I did spend the next 2 days completely not rewriting, but revising all of Act 1 and rearranging some of the way that the past timeline comes in and working on the plot for the rest of the book. And it was glorious. It felt so good to finally get it together. And I feel like Act One, which is the first 25,000 words of this novel, by the way, it is, for comparison, Beautiful Demons, which was my first book, is only 45,000 words, 46,000 words. So this, just Act One, is 25,000, which means this book will be just shy of 100,000 words, most likely. It's going to be a long one, but it'll hopefully be super fun and twisty-turny. But I am done with Act One to the point where I am ready to send that off to beta readers as soon as I feel like I'm ahead enough that they can devour it. So that is very good news. And I'm pretty sure after sitting down, I know when the release date for this book will be, because I've pretty much charted it out. So the way this will work is, as soon as it's finished and I send it off to betas, I'm going to wait and get feedback on that first like half of the book before I announce a release date, just because I want to make sure they don't say, I think this is confusing, because sometimes as the author, I can't tell if it's going to be confusing for other people. So I'm going to wait and get a little bit of feedback on them. As soon as I know that it's good to go, or it's mostly good enough, I will set it up for a pre-order probably a month out. So I'll set a 30-day pre-order. During that time, I will also publish the paperbacks on Ingram Spark so that I can get those sent to my house before the book gets published. So everybody who ordered a paperback of Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw back during the Spooktacular, you will likely get your books either right around release date or even before the book releases. So keep an eye on that. We'll probably send out some emails letting people know it's coming, just to make sure we don't have people that, like just mentioned, need their book address updated and things like that. So that's going to be fun. It's coming soon. Like, I can't say a release date, but I will say at this time, I expect that this book will be out in March, or at the latest early April. So I'm very excited. We are getting very close, and I am finally, for the first time, like as I was reading through, getting chills and like gasping and being like, yes, that is exactly the way I wanted it to be, which is very exciting for me. So I hope you're excited too. I probably will be also giving some sneak peeks of it throughout the next few weeks with, moving forward. So it's very exciting. I cannot wait. It's going to be amazing. This book will be coming out in paperback and in large print for the first time. It'll be the first book I've ever put out in large print as well as regular paperback. And it will be coming out as an ebook as well. And then I was going to give some updates on Ream, but basically, the only update I have for Ream is that my Ream subscription will most likely also launch here in March. And this book will be part of the teasers that you'll be getting kind of for free for following me over on Ream. But this book will not be included in Ream content. But we will be starting with A Mirror of Shadows content on Ream coming up either in March or April. And it is very exciting as well. So that will be a serialized story similar to Sacrifice Me, set in the same world as the Shadow Demon saga. And I'll be pre-writing that while I'm reading back through all of the Shadow Demons books, and then continuing on with the last book in the series, which is about 40,000 words in, and probably, frankly, will be rewritten at this point just because it's been so long. So I wanted to just let you guys know that that is coming soon, as in terms of a subscription on Ream. So there will be a free follower where you will be able to just follow me for free over there. And there'll be like blog posts and teasers and other things. And then the lowest tier to join me is $3 a month. So for $3 a month, you'll be able to come on and you'll get to read A Mirror of Shadows. The next tier, I believe, is going to be either $5 or $7. And for that $5 or $7, you're probably going to you'll get the story, but then you'll also probably get access to some extras like special coffee chats or behind the scenes for the new book, as well as book club type stuff for Shadow Demon Saga. And then there will be a higher tier where you'll also get audio of me reading A Mirror of Shadows. So there's going to be lots of fun stuff like that. It's going to be awesome. So I hope you're looking forward to it. It's going to be really great. Somebody said, what's the difference between Large print. So large print is, I think, has to be at least 16 point font or higher, whereas regular books are more like 11, 12 font or something like that. Large print has to be, so the books are typically also bigger just because you don't want them to be this thick. So sometimes they might be like 6 by 9 instead of 5.5 by 8.5, and they will be much larger word font so that people that cannot read smaller print or have trouble with their vision can read them a little bit more. This book will not be out in audio right away though, but hopefully we will also have a soon release date for the first Shadow Demons book in audio. So lots of great stuff. So much fun. Watching the first 20 minutes on 2x speed. I love it. Oh my gosh, how are we 20 minutes in? I haven't even started talking about quantum leaps yet. So we'll get to that in a second as well. I feel like I'm talking so much. Okay. So also February goals. So first of all, I had an amazing January. I had some of the best launches that I've ever had for my courses. I got into a writing routine that is really serving me. And I have just really been finding my own center and my own balance for who I want to be in the world. And this is where we're going to start talking about quantum leaps. And when I start thinking about my goals for February, there are things in process that I can't control. And I started to realize that when I start thinking about my goals and who I want to be in the world, sometimes those goals are out of my control, but they're things that I want and things that I want to achieve in my life, things I want to be, things I want to have in my life, and experiences I want to have. But sometimes they're out of control, or out of my control. I can't just create a TV series out of my books, right? I can't just become the number one best-selling author in a certain genre. Like, I can take action that will lead me to that. I can believe in myself. I can manifest it, but I can't actually make it happen by just sheer force of will being like, I will be number one at Amazon, unless I cheated, in which case I could probably do it and then I would get banned. And it wouldn't really be an accomplishment because you didn't actually earn it, right? So I started to realize that sometimes when I think about goals, or I think especially about the big things that I want to achieve in my life, sometimes I spend more time worrying about those goals and whether they're going to happen or how I can make it happen, or what if this doesn't fall into place, or what if this falls apart, or what if, and I'm trying to like manipulate things that aren't in my control versus actually doing the things that will help me get to where I want to go. Can anybody else relate to this? It's like, yes, it's good to think and to plan and to try to set yourself up in alignment for the things you want, but it doesn't actually do me any good sitting to compare myself to other people that have it, or to worry that I'm not going to have it, or that I'm not good enough, or to spend, sometimes we're going to sit and cry because we are an emotional wreck and we just need a good cry to get through the breakthrough. But sometimes I feel like I catch myself ruminating or worrying more about the things I can't control rather than doing the things that will most help me get there. And in fact, sometimes I can feel demotivated to do the things I need to do because it feels hopeless. It feels like I'm not going to get there. And so why bother? What's the point? So this is what I'm going to talk about when we get to this discussion of quantum leaps, because some of this has been on my mind about 6 months for life, and about how do I explain what this is and what is missing in the productivity space and conversations about the productivity and other things like that. What's missing in this conversation that makes it so difficult to do the things that we know we need to do? Now, I feel like I have made big progress on this in my own life over the last few years, but I have friends that are still where I used to be, who it's like they know what they want, but when they actually sit down to do it, they're not taking the action that would lead them to where they want to be. HB90 has revolutionized my own life in this terms, because having the clear plan, having the sticky notes, and the, knowing exactly what it is I want to do has helped me a lot. But there are still other places in my life where I know like what I need to do and I just don't want to do it, or I just don't get up and do it. So there's resistance there. And there's a part of me that feels a lot of, trying to think of the right word for it, but feels a lot of sadness, sometimes almost depression around it, because it's like, how is another year going by? And I know I want this. And every time I do a vision board or every time I think about the future, I know that that's on my list. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to do. And yet I'm not doing it. I do it or I fail at it or I resist doing it or I start it and then I don't follow through on it. And there's a mystery there because I have read and watched all the productivity books, all the audio books, all the videos, all the stuff. So what is it that's still not there? What is still missing in the productivity space that doesn't get us over the hump of this is what I need to do? Because sometimes, like HB90 is going to help you. There's a lot of other productivity books and systems and other things out there that will help you at least get through the overwhelm and say, these are the steps I need to do. But the number one place that I feel like is missing for so many of us is not the like one and done kind of projects. Like I need to set up my website. I need to pick out some graphics. It's the habits, right? It's the daily habits. It's the way of being. It's the way we show up in the world. So that's one place is like, okay, I want to be a writer and I can dream about it and I can do all the things to become a writer, except I don't sit down and write every day. Don't actually finish books. And that is the one thing that's going to keep me from becoming a best-selling writer is not having any books to sell. So that's one maybe example, right? Then there's an idea of like, okay, let's say I really want to get my PCOS under control. And I know it's affecting every piece of my life that I am not taking the right supplements or moving my body in a way that would be supportive to me or, et cetera, et cetera. Or like eating certain kinds of foods I know are going to be inflammatory for my body or make me feel less energy or sick or whatever. But it doesn't matter how I feel and what I want. Whenever I get stressed, I rely and turn to those bad habits that I know are not really going to lead me to where I want to go. Right. So that's another example. Another might be things like this room, simple things that are maybe less long term. This room has been sitting empty. I have my new desk in here, but I don't have any of the bookshelves because there's decisions sitting in my way that I have to make some decisions about what to do with these ginormous baseboards. Do we want to pull them off or not? Do we want to paint behind? There's like all these decisions and it feels like hard work. And so I just keep procrastinating it, procrastinating it, procrastinating it. And part of the problem with that is that when I walk into this room, I've got videos to record. I've got stuff I need to do. It's echoey in here. And every single time I let myself down by not putting together these bookshelves, it has consequences for other things that I'm trying to do in my life. And it begins to have a chain reaction of like, I'm still not doing the thing. I'm still not doing the thing. And that's just the external part of it. Then there's the mind part of it, the internal part of it that makes me go, there you go again, letting yourself down. You can't rely on yourself. What are you doing? And it's like this constant proof to my brain that I am not the kind of person who follows through on my word or something along those lines. Now, sometimes I feel like I need to caveat this. Sometimes I begin talking about this kind of stuff, and what some people want to do is help. They want to say, oh, well, you should come up with a better system or you should stop being so hard on yourself or whatever. So I just want to caveat this by saying, like, it's not that I am talking about this so that I can get people to tell me what kind of systems I need in my life. What the reason that I'm talking about this is because I know that I'm not the only person here right now who feels this way. And what I want to do, because I'm passionate about productivity and because I'm passionate about wanting to see my goals become my reality, and also because my 47th birthday a couple of weeks ago is kicking me in the butt, because I'm realizing I got 3 years till 50. And I have some very clear ideas of who I want to be by the time I'm 50, which means I feel like a ticking clock has now started counting down, which is only in my brain, I realize. But it's just this idea of like, by my 50s, I want to be this kind of person. And so now I'm like, okay, I got to get myself aligned with that kind of person. But there is a balance that we've been talking about throughout coffee chats so far this year of um of giving yourself grace, but then also being disciplined enough to do the thing, right? And I am still looking for that balance. But when I think about productivity books and gurus and stuff like that, first of all, I know I've said this before and I don't mean it to sound political in any way, but first of all, the majority of those books are written by men. And many of those books, like Cal Newport's Deep Work and stuff like that, talk about basically like, if you want to do deep work, then just like stay at the office for an extra 4 hours a night. And they're not like always like motherhood, parenting friendly type of advice. And they're very masculine energy, which is not always something that resonates with me every time. Also, you do have some women in this space, like the 5-second rule from Mel Robbins and things like that, which I think is helpful. But I have personally tried like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, just get it done. And it doesn't work for me. And I'm like, why doesn't it work for me? But it's partially, I think, because part of my brain knows I'm trying to trick myself. And that doesn't fully work for me either. Because I can just be like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't want to do it. And I'm not going to do it. So I think there's like a mental commitment down to that sort of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 trick of the 5-second rule from Mel. I do adore her though, and I follow her, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. So I've been thinking about it in this way. Who do I want to be? When I think about my goal and I think about the life that I want to have, who do I want to be? Because that's at the core of my goals. Like my goals are always centered around what kind of person do I want to be? Or what kind of life do I want to have? What types of experiences do I want to have? What type of house do I want to live in? Like all of those types of things. And also like what do I want to achieve in life? So that's kind of where we set the goals. And I think I'm high futuristic. And so for me, I'm always thinking about the future. I know not everybody is like that. Um, so you're supposed to count down and that motivates you. She explains a lot better in the book than I do. And the book is still worth reading. It's very good. But her idea behind it was it's sort of like a rocket ship, counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you just do the thing without letting your brain engage as to any excuses or why you're not doing it. It's supposed to like get you over needing motivation so that you just say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get in the shower. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just get on the treadmill. But I just am like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What is this? I don't know. My brain's already engaged. My brain was engaged long before I had to engage my brain to even do the counting. So I don't know. I don't get it. But I do think that her body of work is incredible. It just has never fully, that particular trick has never worked for me. Good night. Yeah, exactly. Um, okay, sorry. I'm not trying to criticize Mel Robbins. She's incredible. I just mean that specific trick doesn't work for my brain. But what I've been thinking about is I think the missing piece that we don't talk about enough in productivity is that you can have all the systems in the world, you can have all the direction and the path and all of that stuff, but the actual in the moment, like, I'm going to follow through with my plan. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do the thing cannot come from just a system. There are things that we can do that can help us. So clarity for one thing, knowing exactly what it is we're going to sit down doing is helpful because there's sometimes if it's just this, I talk about this in HB90, if it's like, Clark Griswold with the big giant Christmas lights in National Lampoon, when he goes to pull out all the Christmas lights, it's just such a big tangled mess. You don't even know where to start, right? If all the things you think you need to do in your life are just one big tangled mess of Christmas lights, it's going to feel overwhelming to sit down and even take the first step. So like imagine that you live in a house that's like hoarders, right? It's just the whole house is just a big mess. You don't even know where to start. And maybe in the past you've started a little bit, but then it just goes right back to where it is. You can start to see those old patterns and feel like it's hopeless, right? So there is value in sitting down and creating a plan. So, I'm going to start in the bedroom. I'm going to just take out the trash, and then I'm going to deal with this. And then I'm going to, like having a set of steps to follow can be super helpful. But where the disconnect often happens is when you lose the energy of motivation and you like, I'm just going to compare this to cleaning a house with hoarders, because a lot of us like either some of us are messy in that way, and some of us have at least seen messy houses on TV. So it feels like a good analogy. Um, when you lose the energy of motivation, like at first you might be like, yes, I can see the future in the distance. I'm going to make this choice. I've got my plan. And we have that initial energy of I'm going to sit down and do it. So maybe we clean out all of the trash and we get things pulled out of the closet and we're starting to look at stuff. But eventually there's going to be a big mess on the floor and we're going to be sitting there like, I can't do this anymore. Maybe we're going to have mindset things that come up that are like, what kind of person lets their room get this bad? What kind of person keeps trash in their room for the last 3 years and hasn't cleaned it out? And we begin to tell ourselves about our worthiness regarding what work we're doing. And I'm giving an example about a hoarder's house, but it could also be fitness. Like you could be like, I used to be somebody who was very fit and used to work out all the time. And now I have let all of my flexibility go. I don't have any muscular strength. And so I get on the treadmill and I can't even go above 2.5 or 2 miles per hour. I'm not judging anyone else. I'm just trying to give an example of something that might go through my mind. So then when you try to go to 3 miles per hour, you can't do it. And so you might say to yourself, what kind of person lets their whole fitness go? Like, how did I get this way? What did I do to become this? Right. Which is very much in the story, by the way, like a mirror moment, like how did I get that? What have I become kind of moment in the story? And that is how we all become heroes of our life, by the way, is understanding that moment of like, I want to change. But I feel like so often we can get stuck in that place where we kind of know what we need to do. We know who we want to be. But when we lose that initial energy of motivation, because motivation is kind of an illusion, how do we keep going without reverting back into negative self-talk, negative or past routines? Because our routines can become like ruts, right? And it's like very much like we've walked this path for so long that changing it is difficult. And so if I'm trying to change this pattern of overworking and spending too much time on my videos and not getting my writing done, that can be really fun when the writing is fun. But when I hit a day where the writing feels hard, it can be very tempting to be like, screw this, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go make this video and I'm going to do one of these other 10 things. Same thing with my exercise, that it's like, maybe I'll get up in the morning and do it. But then if I have a day where I'm not feeling like it, or my cycle is going, or I'm too tired, or I didn't get good sleep, I'm going to say, I'm not doing this anymore. And sometimes once we have broken the new pattern, the motivation and the negative self-talk starts to kick in, and it becomes difficult to keep going. And so I've been thinking about quantum leaps, because I have been calling this my quantum leap year, because I feel like, and there are lots of signs in my own personal life pointing to the fact that this year is a year where there are some big things that are going to start to happen, and that over the next couple of years, I need to have a foundation, because there's going to be some quantum leaping happening, meaning there are going to be big doors of opportunity, things that I have been working for a very long time that will begin to open for me, and I need to be ready for it. And I can feel this the same way that we talk about intuition, and you can feel things like whispers of things coming in your life. I feel it 100%, and I know it to be true. And you all will get to see it in real time. And I don't even know what these things are going to be. They will be just as surprising to me as they will be to all of you. But I know they're coming because I can feel it. The same way that people can sometimes be like, oh, my knee is aching because there's a storm coming. Like I can feel it. I am not a Capricorn rising. I am a Virgo rising, which probably surprises not very many people. I am Aquarius sun, Pisces moon, Virgo rising, which is my dominant sign, really is my Virgo rising in a lot of ways. But also, I think my Aquarius comes out sometimes too. But so here's how do we fix it? Like, what do we do? I'm just kind of talking about these things, but quantum leaps are really about sort of jumping from where you are now to your next big thing, like making a big jump from where you are now to where you want to be. And I feel like this is the year that I'm going to be making some quantum leaps. And I have multiple areas of my life that I feel like this is going to happen. And there are some things coming that are out of my control, but me thinking or even spending all my time daydreaming about the things out of my control are not always going to help me. What will help me is how am I taking the steps today and to not keep holding myself back? Because when we talk about self-sabotage and we talk about holding yourself back and not following through, I really think it has so much less to do, and some of you were saying this in the comments, and I completely agree with you. It has less to do with the actual plan and the productivity hacks and the systems and other things like that. And it has so much more to do with what's going on inside. Our mindset, our self-belief, our ability to continue to move forward and to draw on these personal reserves that we have inside of ourselves, our ability to decide what it is we want and decide how badly we want it and what we're willing to do to go and get it. And I think that sometimes when people try to push past, we're in this mindset of, I will do it no matter what it takes. And sometimes that also is not the healthiest way to go about stuff. Sometimes it can get us where we want to go, but that energy sometimes can be dangerous. Like, by whatever means possible, I will achieve this. And so if we think about it in terms of, I don't know how to pull that into like hoarder house, but let's say, for example, if you had a really messy house and you said by any means possible, you might just go through like a tornado and hire a bunch of people and just get rid of everything. And then you're going to be sitting there like with your emotional and your nervous system completely out of whack and maybe have a nervous breakdown because you didn't really prepare yourself for getting rid of all this stuff all at once. I don't know if that's the best example, but it was just since I was using that as an example before. Let's use it in terms of health. So we're talking about fitness. If we say by any means possible, I will become fit and healthy this year. Well, sometimes that might actually mean taking shortcuts or doing things that aren't actually healthy for us, trying to get to what society says is a healthier version of me, like focusing on weight loss instead of focusing on my actual health and what supports my body, that kind of thing. So I don't think by any means possible is always the best way either. Plus, I don't want to be miserable on my way to my dream life. I really would like to be happy on my way to my quantum leap. I don't want to have to rely only on discipline and willpower and get it done, even if you're miserable kind of life. Like if I'm very tired, I want to be able to give myself grace and rest. But I feel like there's very few productivity gurus out there that have found a way to like encompass all of these things. So if you feel like you follow someone who is doing that well, please put them in the comments because I feel like it's so much either or. It's either all grace and all rest, or it's all by any means possible, willpower, get it done. And I just am looking for more people to be around who are looking at this mindset piece of it. So I wrote some things down. I know maybe I need to write my own productivity book, but I definitely have to work on my explanation of it. You guys are helping me work through my thoughts by just letting me riff. But here's some questions that I kind of wrote down is what's your big goal and what kind of person do you think that you need to be in order to achieve that goal? So for myself, let's say I want to be the number one like best-selling author with a TV show. Like I want to be number one at Amazon, like fourth wing level, amazing work, right? That's my big goal. So then I ask myself, what kind of person do I think I need to be to have that life? And how is that different from who I'm being right now? So part of that is going to be the process, like the HB90 stuff. Well, I got to write some good books. So I have to become the best writer that I can be. And I need to be the person that, who, you know, is maybe in my mind. So let me explain it this way. When I ask myself that question of who do I need to be to have, SJ Moss fourth wing, level of massive success with my books, who do I need to be? There will be some things if I start making a list that are purely logical things that are probably true. Like I need to have really good books. I need to write books. I need to be the kind of person who shows up and writes great books. And I need to publish them and get them out in the world. But then there are also things that are going to be sneaky in there. And if I'm being really honest about it, when I think about the person that I need to be to have fourth wing level of success, Colleen Hoover level of success, maybe there are some other things that come up for me. And so I need to think about what those are, because those might be the sneaky things causing me to not do what I need to do. And these are the things that I feel like we don't talk about enough. So just sharing some personal things here. Maybe when I think about having that level of success, there's a feeling that like I need to be prettier to have that success. And I know I've talked about this before, being a traumatic thing from my past, that these group of girls came up to me in fifth grade and said, "You're not pretty enough to be our friend." And for 6 months, no one at my school talked to me. My boyfriend, that was my first ever boyfriend, broke up with me and no one spoke to me at all. And I lived in a small town, so it wasn't like there was big community around me. I lived in the middle of the woods, a log cabin. Like I had no one for 6 months. And it was very, very difficult time in my life. And I still to this day don't know why those girls chose to do that, but it was like a whole group of girls, like 10 girls coming up to me with their arms linked. "You're not pretty enough to be our friend anymore." And I didn't get invited to any of the parties. I didn't get to do any of the things. I had to sit alone at recess every day. It was pivotal. I was 10 years old. And I took that deep down. Then to push that even further, I wanted to be in a beauty pageant, local beauty pageant with my friends that were all in this beauty pageant. And my mom told me I couldn't be in beauty pageants because I would make a fool of myself, and that beauty pageants are for pretty girls, but that I could sing and be the entertainment, but I could not be in a beauty pageant. So there are things in my past, and I'm not saying this to complain or to have somebody tell me that I am pretty. What I'm saying is like those experiences in my life, and we all have them, were pivotal in my formulation of my own idea of who I am, and made me believe that I am not fundamentally someone that other people consider pretty. And I didn't question whether that was true or not, because I was basing, as a child, everything I thought on like, how can I think I'm pretty if other people say that I'm not? And I wasn't given the skill set as a child to learn to trust my own opinion over others. And in fact, the person in my house that I thought I trusted the most confirmed that belief for me. And so you wouldn't realize how that core belief, even though now I'm older, I can look in the mirror, I can see myself, I can work on loving myself. I have a husband who thinks I'm beautiful. I have followers who think I'm beautiful. Even though I have that, there is still some part of me deep down in my core beliefs that believes, when I think about it, about wanting to be Sarah J. Moss level famous, that says you're not pretty enough. And I can feel it like in the gut part of me. And it's like, oh, okay, that's not actually true, right? It's not true. You can be super famous and not be pretty at all, first of all, even though everyone I mentioned is. but you could be super famous without being pretty. So what is it that why do I believe that I can't have that level of fame? And in what ways am I holding myself back from a massive quantum leap of actually having that level of fame? Because somewhere in my brain, I don't believe that I'm pretty enough to have it. And that's just one example. Maybe some of you growing up were told you're not smart enough, or maybe you were told don't, maybe you were told you don't stick with things. And so often, even if we've gone to therapy, even if we've worked on these things, even if we have purposely tried to change our own internal self talk or our own beliefs about this, sometimes I think those little stories, those words that other people told us, and the way that we valued them from our minds in that pivotal moment of our lives, whether we were children or not, still creeps up in our ability to follow through with the words that we said we were going to do. Like, I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to work out every day. And I know we're down to only 9 minutes remaining because I talked so much, but there's I think that there's something fundamental here where if we can find a way to go deeper into this thought of like, okay, let me sit down and imagine that I have actually achieved this big goal and I am being the person that I want to be, or I'm having the thing I want to have. So, for example, I live in this beautiful house that I dreamed up my whole life. 10 years ago, if somebody had said, here's a picture of your future house, I might have looked at this house and imagined somebody handing me these keys. And then I could explore this thought of what kind of person would I need to be to live in that house? What kind of person am I now versus the person I need to be? And I might have in the past had some very wonky beliefs about what I needed to be. Like I might have thought, oh, I have to be perfectly organized. I have to be beautiful. I have to be rich. I have to be the kind of person who is clean and neat at all times, or I have to be the kind of person who's very good interior designer, right? None of that is true. I'm not those things right now, but I still have this house. But there's sometimes perceptions that are false perceptions of the things we need to have in place or the kind of people we need to be in order to achieve that goal. And when we're thinking about what we need to do to get to that goal, we're focused on the action and then like on the plan, and then we show up to do the thing and we can't make ourselves do it. And we don't realize, so often we're told we're just lazy, you're not smart enough, you're not sticking to it, you don't have enough motivation, you're reverting to old habits, whatever. But I really think that for the majority of us, the reason that we don't follow through on those habits is not because we don't know what to do or we're overwhelmed or we're lazy. I don't think that's the truth. I think it's the overwhelm sometimes. But if you have HB90, you're not feeling that hopefully as much as you used to. But instead, I believe that it's because there's some kind of secret in the dark, hidden in your mind or in your heart, fear that you don't actually have what it takes. And that if you dedicate yourself to this next step, you're going to be disappointed because you're not the kind of person who has that life, right? And in a lot of ways, this comes down to one word, which is alignment. And if we want to make quantum leaps in our lives and we actually want to go from where we are to like crossing this big gap to having this big push forward in our lives, I think one of the single most important things that we need to do is to get into alignment with that future version of ourselves. And so that is a matter of saying, okay, if I want this TV deal and I want to sell 1 million more books in the next year of my life or whatever, then who do I need to be now in order to align myself with that belief? And so when I start thinking about that, I don't need to just think about what I'm going to do to have that, because a lot of whether or not that happens is not in my control. But instead, I need to be thinking, what is it in my own mindset and in the energy I'm putting out into the world that is holding me back from getting into alignment with that future? That might have been a little bit complex of a thought, but hopefully it is aligning for some of you. So what I asked myself was, first of all, where am I still stuck in an alternate version of myself? So when I think about the future that I want to have, where do I still imagine myself to be a child or imagine myself to be stuck in a regret of who someone told me I was or bad decisions or choices I made in the past? Is there something blocking me? Like if I imagine my path between here and that best-selling author, is there a version of me that's 13 that is blocking my path going, you're not going to get there. You're not, this isn't for you. And if so, what can I say to that version of myself so that she will get out of my way and I can keep moving forward? So is there a version of me that is blocking this way? Also, how can I feel like that future version of myself right now? And so let's talk about like getting into the best shape of my life. That's why I wore this. Uh, this is just like a workout set from Amazon because I'm going to get on the treadmill after this. Even with my makeup on, I'm getting on the treadmill because I'm going to try to do this every day is getting on the treadmill. And I didn't get a chance to do it this morning because I wanted to rest. But what can I do now? If I think about the future version of myself who is beautiful and fit and exactly the healthy 50-year-old version of myself I want to be, then how can I let go of the past, but also bring that future version of myself into my moment now? And it's going to sound like simple things, but one, buying workout gear that makes me feel like the future version of myself doesn't have to be expensive, just like buying the workout gear. Headphones, silly thing. This is like a silly trick that they don't teach you in Cal Newport's deep work. But putting on the headphones that make me feel like that Pinterest version of myself, like I'm that girl, whatever, it makes me feel more like the best fit version of myself. Going to a workout class, taking photos of myself in certain poses, listening to certain kinds of music and dancing to myself. And just all of those types of things, the more that I can actually make myself feel right now like that future version of myself, the more natural motivation I have to actually follow through with it. Whereas when I show up at the gym or whatever, and I'm just thinking about just get it done by any means necessary, I don't feel motivated in the same way that I do when I imagine myself in that future and think, oh, cool. Look at how pretty I am right now. Look how cool I look in this top. Like, I love this. And so, kind of trying to align myself and become as much of that future me version as I can right now has been super helpful for me. Um, Also, I have more to say, and I'm just running out of time. So maybe we can talk about this. Um, Fears, also kind of journaling through any fears. Like if I imagine my future self being this number one best-selling author, what am I afraid of that she might have to deal with that I'm scared to deal with? So what is sabotaging myself actually protecting me from in the future? So for example, there's a fear of if I got that big, would I still be relatable? Or would my audience become so big that we wouldn't be able to have 250 people coffee chats that I really love and adore? And I don't want to get rid of that. I don't want to lose that. So if I had millions of followers, would we not have this same intimate conversations that we have now? And am I afraid of that? And kind of working through those fears. There's also fears of like, if I had million followers, are there people that would find my house? Like Rebecca Yarros was telling stories about how she would get off planes and people would approach her at the airport with like suitcases full of books for her to sign, that people actually showed up at her house and threatened her son. That stuff is scary. And so are there fears out there of if I achieve this version of myself, what will people think of me? How will people judge me? How does it put my life in danger? Like these are real thoughts and real fears. And even though we might not be thinking of them on a daily basis, they might be somewhere in our subconscious, part of the reason why we're not following through with the thing we said we were going to do. And so to me, I think some of the work of quantum leaping is not just making the plan and following through. It's working through the fears. It's working through the past versions of yourself that are scared. It's working through the beliefs about yourself that tell you you're not good enough to have that life. And it's starting to build your own confidence and your own belief that you can actually make that life your reality. So that's what we'll talk about next week, is how do you start building a body of proof that you can actually do this? Because I believe that if those desires are in your heart and you can see it and you can believe it, then you can make it happen, that it's meant for you. So I saw somebody say, can I put these questions somewhere? I will write down all these notes that I had and I'll put them in the Discord server and on the Facebook group. If you're not following me in either place, come follow me and I can put them into a Google Drive and we can talk. I'll just put them in the comments section next week or something like that. So I hope this was a good conversation. I have so much more to say. I did not get to any of the fun questions in the Discord. So we'll see where we end up next week. But thank you for coming to hang out with me. I hope it is going to be a quantum leap year. I have thought several times about creating a vlog series about it. But I just haven't gotten it together yet. Hey, you guys coming in to say hi? What are you wearing? Do you change real quick? Hi. Why you look sad? It's Friday.
I don't like you when you play. I like when you play.
She doesn't want me on the live stream. She wants me to play with her. All right. My kids are here to hang out. So I'm going to go spend some time with the kids. All right. I super, super love you guys. Thank you for hanging out. Thanks for listening to my thoughts about quantum leaps. And if you are in Publish and Thrive, I will see you tomorrow on our Q&A call. If you are not, I hope you have a wonderful new moon tonight. And I will see you all next week on Twitch or here again on YouTube. All right. All my love. Bye, everybody.